Hello everyone, this is Bill with Yarn Crafts for Lefties. Today we're going to be going over how to make the seed stitch, also known as the moss stitch. The moss stitch or seed stitch is a pattern that is done in multiples of 2 for your cast on, and when you make it, you are alternating knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch all the way across on the right side of the fabric. Then once you flip it, if you're seeing a purl, you're going to knit it. If you're seeing a knit, you're going to purl it. And I'll go through that a little slower on a smaller piece of fabric. But what it does is it gives you this great bumpy looking fabric that has a lot of wonderful texture to it, and because you're alternating knit with purl, it gives it a bit of bulk without having to use necessarily a bulky yarn. So it gives you a lot of great opportunities. Here I just have it bordering a stockinette square to give a little texture and dimension on a afghan square. So how do we make our seed stitch or moss stitch, whichever one you want to call it? They're the same thing. Now we're going to cast on in even numbers. That is a requirement for our seed stitch. But I have done it in odd numbers. Most books you'll see will say to do it in an even number, but just keep in mind the simple rule that I'm going to give you. Once you do your foundation row, so we're going to pretend here that we're doing row 1, I'm going to start out with the knit stitch, then I'm going to do a purl stitch. Now that I've done that, I'm going to do a knit stitch, bring the yarn to the front, do a purl stitch. One of the great things about this is it will give you a lot of practice in being able to move between a knit and a purl stitch, which a lot of times when you are first knitting, it can be very awkward to do and feel cumbersome. So our row 1 for this is knit 1, purl 1, repeat all the way across. That's why they say to do this in an even number, because it's knit 1, purl 1. And then it's usually written as a repeat of repeat knit 1, purl 1 all the way across. So now we did row 1, knit 1, purl 1. Now I'm going to turn my work. Now this is where we're going to start looking to identify our stitch types. Let me bring this into slightly better focus so we can go over this. Now with row 2, what we're going to do is we're going to look. Here I have a knit stitch, here I have a purl stitch, and because of the nature of the way I knit row 1, I know this is going to always alternate. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. On the wrong side. In order to create the bumpy texture, any place we see a knit, we are going to make a purl. Anywhere we see a purl, we're going to make a knit. So since I have a knit here, I'm going to bring my yarn around to the front of the work, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purl that. Now here I have a purl, so I'm going to knit it. So my row 2 is purl 1, knit 1, repeat across. So purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and knit, which now gave us that alternation on the wrong side of the fabric of more bumps. So when I turn it again, I'm back to row 1, which is going to give me my repeat of knit 1, purl 1, repeat across. And that's all there is to making the seed stitch or the moss stitch. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this pattern. I enjoy doing it because of the great texture, both visually and tactile texture that it gives to a piece. So I hope you found this useful. This is Bill with Yarn Crafts for Lefties. Happy knitting.